Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? One of Ones is in the building, weekly live, episode 5. NBA Live, no replay. Who knows that one? Rumble and kick, you're still down. We are in week 5. One of One, 675 members strong. The army is growing, guys. We are Big Pharma's worst nightmare. We are the Robin Hoods of health. We are coming to take back what they took from us. My bad. There's a debate on tonight. Forgot, but we're gonna do this every week, every Thursday. Thursday is Thor's Day. Thursday is One of One's Day. And what's more important than a political debate is getting people better, getting people healthy. We got some good weather out here. We got some good testimonies. Let's start off with a testimony. Okay, One of One's member today just dropped 5 hours ago. He said, "Hey y'all, I just want to update on this milestone. Had no idea why I was snoring. It didn't matter which way I laid, it was still hectic, so I've been told. I joined One of One's on the 28th of May and recorded 3 nights of sleep. The first recording was Ruthless, Still Heavy, which was on the 1st of this month. Then by the 14th, it was Minimal, like heavy breathing but not snoring. I fasted on the 19th to the 24th, back on my diet, low vitamin A. And last night's sleep was very, very quiet. I'm actually really happy about that. Other than daily exercise that I've been doing for years and only cutting certain foods from my high vitamin A diet to help this, which never worked, I have discovered that this low vitamin A, Kodiak the Shepherd, I have discovered that this low vitamin A diet surely has to be the reason why my sleep has improved. Today is the 28th in my country, 1 month low vitamin A, and it's only the beginning. Thank you so much, Thor Torrens. This is only one part of the many major changes I've noticed, but I'm really happy about this. I'm happy about this too. Nothing makes me more happy than a testimony. Oh, someone just joined One of One's, 676 members. The army is growing. We are a tribe, guys. They are a big tree. We are a small axe. Who knows that song? And that's what it's going to take. That's what it's going to take to bring down the giant. We don't have to bring anyone down. We just really have to get people better and make people aware and educate them, right? One of today's posts, when you put things in a logical, competent perspective, one of today's posts was Ashton Kutcher and how he overdosed on carrots and got pancreatitis by playing Steve Jobs. Okay, so let's take a look at this real quick. If you're new here, vitamin A is not your friend. Vitamin A is not a vitamin. Vitamin A is retinol, which is an alcohol, and it turns into retinoic acid. It turns into retinaldehydes. It turns into retinol esters. And it is just not a good look for the human body. We've been totally lied to. Natural or synthetic, it is all the same. It turns into the same things in the human body. And food, supplements, skin creams. Ladies, skin creams are a big one. Whoops, I just kicked myself out of the chat. Retinol product skin creams, these dermatologists really need to get checked. And if you have a teenager, you got to look out for them. Comment for Algo Warfare. Everybody, leave a comment, repost, put a question below, whether you're on X, on YouTube. We're also on Facebook Live, but those comments don't show up, and the algorithm in Facebook is just rocked ever since 2012. But there's no difference between toxicity between natural and synthetic sources of vitamin A. There's just no difference. Okay? All carotenoids and retinoids, all plant vitamin A, it all cleaves and gets cut into the same thing in the human body. You either turn it into retinoic acid, retin A, and this is the same ingredient in Accutane. And if you don't know about the side effects of Accutane, we could start to take a look. We're going to talk about some osteoporosis today. and how vitamin A destroys the bones. Real quick, one more testimonial. Let's see if we can go to my Instagram page and see another testimonial. And then I want to talk about some of the things that have gotten better with me. February, March, April, May, June, July. 5 months. I'm 6 months in. I'm 6 months in here. And it's been nothing short of remarkable for me. And I have a ways to go, guys. This is not an overnight detox. This is not a juice cleanse. This is not a bottle of milk thistle. To really detox the liver, you got to put in work. You got to change your lifestyle. You can't reverse decades of damage in a month. And the first step is to admit that you have decades of damage. And I did a one-on-one call today with a great young man, and he showed me what we're calling one of ones now is the Health Nut Rehab. One of the names for one of ones is Health Nut Rehab. I was a health nut. I was doing way too much. I was eating the liver. Not only was I eating the liver, I was taking skate liver oil. I was doing raw milk with the raw eggs with orange juice. I called it a creamsicle. And what happened? I started to get psoriasis. Oh, huge update. I am now growing hair in my nose, inside of my nose hairs. For years, it was totally bald in there. And most guys don't want nose hairs, but I always looked at it as like, why don't I have hair inside my nose? I thought it was from when I was in my teens in Valley Cottage, New York. We actually had a pack of raccoons tried to break into my mom's house. I'll never forget it. And it turns out the owners that owned this house before us had pet raccoons. And that raccoons actually have a generational memory. They were coming back to their home. But I woke up in the middle of the night to a raccoon paw in the window. And I called 911. And 911 hung up on me. They said, 911, what's your emergency? And I said, I got a pack of raccoons trying to break in my house. And they said 911's for emergencies only, and they hung up on me. The crazy thing is I was not joking. I really had a pack of raccoons trying to get into my house, probably 12 raccoons. And I had this ghetto ass air conditioning, and they literally, like their little paws were taking the AC and trying to get into the house. So I went online and I said, how do I get rid of raccoons? And they said, put ammonia rags. So I got some ammonia, put some rags and some pans, and I said, let me smell this ammonia. See what I smelled the ammonia. My nose hairs literally fell out of my nose. And I haven't had nose hairs since then. And now I'm starting to get nose hairs growing in thick. So I'm super excited about that. I'm also getting hair on the top of my feet. My feet were bald. The top of my feet were bald for, I don't know, as pretty much as long as I could remember. And one of the first wake-up call moments for me is when I looked down at my shins, and my shins had gone bald up to like my mid-shin. How many of you guys have bald shins? A thing a lot of guys normalize as aging. Then we find out part of vitamin A toxicity is hair thinning. Part of vitamin A toxicity is hair thinning. Let's see that. Hair loss. Now you have your male pattern baldness, but then you have thinning of the hair. How many older women do you see with thinning of the hair? Okay. Let's look into some of that. A lot of women. Why excessive vitamin A can cause hair loss? Vitamin A is an essential nutrient. No, it's not. Many important implications. No, it's not. We have people with less than 5 and they're doing great. Healthy levels of vitamin A. No, they're not. Vitamin A is a powerful antioxidant. It sure is. It destroys stem cells. Your detox pathways are oxidative. They need oxygen. The World Health Organization lists alopecia, the technical term for hair loss, as a result of chronic vitamin A toxicity. That is, it can occur if you overdose on supplements containing this nutrient. Multiple studies suggest that excess vitamin A can intake hair loss. Vitamin A is not a toxin in itself. Yes, it is. It causes hair loss. But it can behave as such if taken in excessive doses. Okay, what's an excessive dose? What is the RDA of vitamin A? What's an excessive dose? Okay. The recommended for women, 900 and 700, 3,000 IUs. Okay. For adults, the tolerable upper take level, the most vitamin A one can take without experiencing negative health effects, is 3,000 micrograms. This is Cleveland Clinic. Cleveland Clinic is straight up telling you, quietly, no one cares, 3,000 micrograms. Okay. How much vitamin A in 8 ounces of liver? 40,000 IUs? So more than 10 times the RDA in a small steak. Starting to see what's happening here, guys? Okay, wait a minute. So that's the RDA. Let's look at some multivitamins. Let's see some multivitamins here. Let's go to Amazon. Go to multivitamins. What is this, some multi-chew? One soft chew is not bad. 225 micrograms, 25%. How much do they want you to take? Let's look at another multivitamin. That's not a bad one. Still never need a multivitamin from that. Let's look at this, 365. Do they even show us? They don't even show us. Let's look at Nature Made Multi. Now keep in mind, 83%. Not bad. 83%. So you haven't even put a piece of food in your mouth yet. Okay? So really, they're telling you if you go over 900, you're overdosing. You are already one egg. You eat this, one egg after that is making you overdose. So what if you're doing sweet potato, liver? Let's see, one a day. I guarantee you they're over 100% of the RDA. Oh, they're right at 100%. Okay, eat no more food for the rest of the day. Just eat rice. Just eat raisins. It's only 5 foods without vitamin A in them. Why are we putting 100% of the RDA of vitamin A in food if this is literally telling you the upper intake level is 3,000 IUs? It's really crazy. But that's not all, folks. That's not even the bad ones. Let's see Pure's One multivitamin. 125% of the RDA of this fat-soluble toxin that is clearly saying, why are we putting more than 100? Why are we putting any percent of vitamin A? Why are we putting any percent of vitamin A in these multivitamins? It's a crime. Is there vitamin A deficiency in USA? Vitamin A deficiency is rare in the United States, with less than 1% of the population affected. Can somebody tell me why we are still putting this in multivitamins? Why are we still fortifying vitamin A palmitate in this fat-soluble toxin that you can get enough of? Okay, let's check out Ashton Kutcher pancreatitis. Mila Kunis revealed that Ashton Kutcher was hospitalized for pancreatitis twice while preparing to play Steve Jobs. Why did he get pancreatitis? Well, let's see. The actor was following a fruit-only diet. But that's not what he said. What he said was, he recalls thinking, let's just take a look at this article. The ghost of Steve Jobs is taking over my pancreas. Ashton Kutcher on his cancer scare. Wait a minute, I thought carrots cured cancer. Can drinking too much carrot juice drive the pancreas out of whack? Jobs died of pancreatic cancer in 2011. Check this out. Kutcher went the method acting route and ate, like Jobs had, excessive amounts of fruit and carrot juice. Jobs had eaten so many carrots, his skin at one point took an orange tint. Vitamin A toxicity, clear indication. It was the craziest thing, Kutcher recounted. I started drinking the carrot juice like nonstop all day long. It had, he said, some serious effects on the pancreas. 2 weeks before we went to start shooting, all of a sudden I had this like pain in my back that got worse and worse, and I ended up in the hospital. His pancreas had gotten crazy out of whack. So don't drink too much carrot juice, Kutcher said. This is the moral of the story. Then they try to come in and defend carrot juice. Utter nonsense, guys. The original carrot was white. The original carrot was not orange. We can't drive this point home enough. They made it orange, the French, to honor the Dutch. Then they realized the orange carrot sells way more than the white carrot. I have far too much nose hair. I wish it didn't get so tough to shave. I guess, though, I know I'm toxic. It's interesting, right? So, like, you can express toxicity. Here's what we do. You address the fact that you were ingesting toxins unknowingly. You address the fact that vitamin E is a fat-soluble toxin. You address the fact that the vitamin D3 supplement is a fat-soluble toxin that's going to calcify you, and then you stop. Then you realize that vitamin A, you want to find out what's essential. Look at what vitamin A is an antagonist to. Vitamin A in air quotes. Vitamin A will leach you of zinc. Vitamin A will block your potassium channels. Vitamin A will deplete you of magnesium. Vitamin A will mess with your calcium. It will cause osteoporosis. You want to see that? You'll want to see a sneak peek into one-of-ones? Let's take a sneak peek into one-of-ones. Let me go to the classroom section first. Let me give you all a sneak peek into one-of-ones so you can see how we're having a lot of fun. You got how to breathe, how to drink water, how to eat a low vitamin A diet, how to get some sun, how to do aerobic activity, how to use salt, potassium, magnesium, zinc, how to sleep, how to strength train, barefoot, products, recipes, spices, brain training, Takasumi, niacin, probiotics, how to get rid of fungal infections, Q&A. This one is you got to be at a certain tier for the colloidal silver, EMF protection, how to cook, charcoal, workout equipment, what blood work to get done, back pain, weekly Q&A, and then we do weekly Q&As all the time. We do weekly Q&As all the time. Let me show you some of the okay, we got to get out of there. Let me show you some of the vitamin A, osteoporosis. Some studies show that too much vitamin A may increase the risk of osteoporosis, especially for people who are already at risk. This is because the body stores a form of vitamin A, preformed vitamin A, which can come from animal foods like eggs, liver, and milk, as well as supplements. For example, one study found that people who consume more than 5,000 IUs of vitamin A per day were twice as likely to fracture their hips. 5,000 IUs. 5,000 IUs of vitamin A day, and you are more likely to fracture your hip. Huh. Well, that's crazy. 5,000 IUs. How much vitamin A is in a gallon of milk? 6,000. All you guys doing a gallon of milk a day, you are twice as likely to break your hip. Okay, so you're not doing a gallon. You're doing 2 pints of milk a day. Okay, you're doing 2 pints of milk a day. That's about 1,500. Okay, you got 1,500. Then you're doing how much vitamin A is in a sweet potato. Then you go to your sweet potato. No, that can't be. 18,000 IUs of vitamin A? Wait a minute. So then are you 5 times as likely to break your hip? All you sweet potato heads, how much vitamin A is in a cup of spinach? Then you go to your spinach, you're eating healthy. Oh my God. 20. Are you starting to see? We are the accountants of health. Who is accounting for your intake of a fat-soluble toxin? Are you starting to see how quickly this adds up? What if you're taking a multivitamin? What if you are taking liver pills? What if you're taking fish oil? This is where things start to go south quick, or you think you're doing good. Studies indicate that excess vitamin A stored in the body may increase the risk of reduced bone mineral density and lead to osteoporosis. I know Dr. Garrett Smith, there's a lady in your Love Your Liver program who 2 years into a low vitamin A diet, she got a DEXA scan and her osteoporosis reversed. I'm not saying anyone cured anything. I'm telling you a story of a lady who went on a low vitamin A diet and her osteoporosis went away. I'm just telling you a story of a person. Grant Chinru is 9 years on a low vitamin A diet. His chronic kidney disease went away. His eczema went away. His joint pain went away. Can't spell the word liver without live. Morning steak, lunch ground beef, rice, green beans. Joke of a study, Dr. Derp. This is not a joke. This is not a joke at all. Let's get more studies then. Let's get more studies for Dr. Derp. Dr. Derp wants more studies. Shall we show him more studies? Who wants more studies for Dr. Derp? Because we got a lot on osteoporosis. We got a lot on brittle bones with vitamin A. Wait a minute. What is Accutane? Is Accutane megadose vitamin A? Are people getting super poisoned from Accutane? What if one of the symptoms of Accutane use is bone fracture? What if the original vitamin A cornerstone research where they fed rats a vitamin A diet was that their bones were fracturing? Yes, that happened. You can always tell who's done the work and who has not done the work, who's done the research. It's very telling. Osteoporosis. Here we go. I'm about to vitamin A and bone health. Older adults are at significant risk for osteoporosis and related fractures, and their serum blood levels of retinol increase with age. Excessive dietary intake of vitamin A is associated with reduced bone mineral density. What does this say? It is known as a silent disease because it progresses without symptoms. Osteoporosis involves the gradual loss of bone tissue or bone density. To investigate whether excess dietary intake of vitamin A is associated with decreased bone mineral density and increased risk for hip fracture. I mean, you can just type in osteoporosis and vitamin A and in PubMed and Google. Let's check out this one. Listen, we already showed. Let's check out this one right here. We already showed how easy it is to overdose. If you're new here, we just showed that 1 cup of sweet potatoes, you're already way over. 2 pints of milk, already way over. In multivariate analysis, retinol intake was negatively associated with bone mineral density. For every 1 milligram increase in daily intake of retinol, risk for hip fracture increased by 68%. For intake greater than 1.5 milligram compared with intake less than 0.5 milligram, bone mineral density was reduced by 10% at the femoral neck. So not only do we have anecdotal cases with real live humans with DEXA scans, you have multiple studies here. And then you can go into the cornerstone research. Okay, you can go into the cornerstone research of vitamin A and see that in these deficiency studies, they actually fed the rats pork lard and milk casein. Serum retinol levels and the risk of fracture. The risk of fracture was higher among men with the highest levels of serum retinol. All you guys doing the milk, all you guys doing the liver, the eggs, the carrots, the sweet potatoes, the spinach, the tomatoes, the peppers, all those colorful, high carotenoid-rich foods, the risk of fracture was higher among men with the highest levels of serum retinol. Multivariate analysis of the risk of fracture in the highest quintile for serum retinol, greater than 75.62 units per deciliter, as compared with the middle quintile, showed that the rate ratio was 1.64, 95% confidence interval for any fracture, and 2.47, 95% confidence interval for hip fracture. The risk of fracture was further increased within the highest quintile for serum retinol. Men with retinol levels in the 99th percentile had an overall risk fracture that exceeded the risk among men with lower levels by a factor of 7. The level of serum beta-carotene was not associated with the risk of fracture. Conclusions. Our findings, which are consistent with the results of studies in animals, as well as in vitro, as well as the stories we see, suggest that current levels of vitamin A supplementation and food fortification in many Western countries may need to be reassessed. You think? Do you think it needs to be reassessed? Yeah, take it out of every multivitamin. Take it out of the food stop fortifying with vitamin A palmitate, which is palmititic acid, which is a dirty bomb. It's wrapped in a lipid. Your body embraces it with open arms, thinking it's a good thing. Vitamin A in high doses stimulates bone resorption and inhibits bone formation. These effects are demonstrated by in vitro data. What do you got to say about that? Yeah, they used to tell them to eat carrots to help astigmatism. The eat carrots to fix your eyesight was actually a psyop by the British in World War II to get the German pilots to eat carrots because they actually knew that vitamin A would affect their eyes and cause night blindness. Grant Jinru, one of the things he got rid of was night blindness. His serum vitamin A level is 0. He's supposed to be blind. So what the heck happened there? Explain that one, guys. Explain that one. Let's look at this. Retinol intake. Wait a minute. I'm sharing the wrong screen here. I lost my place. There's so many studies and proof about vitamin A and osteoporosis. It's not even funny. It's actually sad. You want strong bones? Lower your vitamin A. You want strong bones? Lower your vitamin A. Excessive diet or intake of vitamin A is associated with reduced bone mineral density and increased risk of hip fracture. 175 women. Results. Retinol intake was negatively associated with bone mineral density. Oh, did I tell you guys that my teeth are remineralizing? My teeth are remineralizing. They were getting see-through at the bottom. That was part of my vitamin A toxicity symptom. If you guys are new here and you haven't been following along, I got vitamin A toxicity pretty badly from being a health nut. Straight up. I was doing liver, I was doing eggs, I was doing milk, I was doing spinach, I was doing sweet potato, I was doing all the supplements, and I messed myself up. And thank God I found Grant Chinru's book, Poisoning for Profits. And then thank God I found Dr. Garrett Smith's live streams. And thank God I found Anthony Mawson's studies on vitamin A. And then thank God I had the mind of the conscious and the logical competence to be like, yeah, this makes total sense. I remember when we had our first child and the doctor was like, be careful for vitamin A. You can overdose. And then you got people like Paul Saladino saying emails to women that don't worry if you're pregnant, you can take vitamin A. That's a crime against humanity. You have no idea how toxic that woman is in vitamin A. If she's already toxic, any little amount is causing a spillover, is causing toxic bile, is causing cholestasis. Toxic bile, if you don't know about Dr. Garrett Smith's toxic bile theory, it's genius. Your bile, your liver makes poop, that's bile. The vitamin A gets into that bile. The copper, the heavy metals, the toxins get into that bile, and that bile starts to leak out everywhere into your bloodstream. Yes, that can go to your brain and cause brain fog and headaches. Of course it can. Once you realize that this body is just a plumbing system, once you realize how that system works, you're either a cesspool or you're an efficient plumbing system eliminating toxins. And a lot of people are out here are cesspools. They're hoarding stuff in their body. And when your liver's had enough, then the toxins start to go other places. And these are now toxic storage compartments, and that is cancer, that is tumors. Why do you think they find copper inside of tumors? You know, it's not a mystery. Let's check this one. Excessive dietary intake of vitamin A is associated with reduced bone mineral. We just saw that one. Let's get another one. This one is the Rancho Bernardo study. The Rancho Bernardo. Retinol is involved in bone remodeling, and excessive intake has been linked to bone demineralization. Is this why my teeth are starting to remineralize? My see-through teeth at the bottom, when the light would hit it, I would say, why are my teeth see-through down there? I'm going to be 40 in August. I shouldn't have like see-through teeth. And now that's starting to fill in again. Yes, its role in osteoporosis has received little evaluation. Why would it receive little evaluation? Well, Rockefeller Research found a bunch of things in milk that then they tried to convince was good for you. Vitamin A, calcium, and vitamin D. None of them are good for you in excess. None of them are even, you don't need cow's milk. All you needed was your mom's milk, and then to evolve into a regular, standard, boring, simple, and plain diet. Cow's milk has 4 times the calcium as your mother's milk had. 4 times the amount of calcium. Great way to get calcified. Then you take your vitamin D3 supplements, hypercalcemia. Then you drink your mineral water with calcium sulfates in it. Majority of these spring waters and mineral waters have calcium in them. They're technically hard waters. We don't drink any of that nonsense. We don't drink any of those hard waters. We do reverse osmosis. We do distilled. And then we can supplement our minerals and get our food minerals. Oh, we got a Facebook like. That's my first time seeing that. And guys, give a comment, give a question. Let's repost this on X. Let's check X real quick. Let's check X real quick where we're live. Yeah, let me repost as we're live. And let's put a comment right below, guys. I'm going to put the sign up for one of ones right below this live on X. We got 310 viewers, which is great. Usually we're getting up to 1,000 viewers, but I think we're competing with a presidential debate tonight. So you guys can watch this on the reruns tomorrow. Let's pause for a quick quote. Quote, I lied and said I was busy. I was busy, but not in a way most people understand. I was busy taking deeper breaths. I was busy silencing irrational thoughts. I was busy calming my racing heart. I was busy telling myself I am okay. Sometimes this is my busy. and I will not apologize for it. Never apologize for your busy. You ain't got to apologize for your busy, baby. Let's check out another. We had the Rancho Bernardo. We had the bone health and osteoporosis. And let's find another one. Because I remember, let's find an animal one. Let's find, and I think there was a premenopausal women one. Let's find that. Yeah, postmenopausal women. That guy who had beef with our studies is nowhere to be found now. He's sitting there saying, shoot, these guys might be onto something. Thor might be onto something. Dr. Garrett Smith might be onto something. The Love Your Liver program might be onto something. One of ones, we are onto something. Grant Chinru's forum, you got people 9 years on a low vitamin A diet. Abstract. There's a controversial information about the impact of vitamin A on bone. Why is this controversial? Studies show that excessive intake of vitamin A or an excess of serum vitamin A. By the way, did you know that the serum labs are going up? That it used to be around 70 was the upper limit, and they've moved it up to 90 because people are that vitamin A toxic. Related with adverse impact on bone mass. However, other studies did not find these links, and some authors have proposed that this vitamin might promote a better bone health. I wonder who funded those studies. The present work aims to contribute to clarify. By the way, guys, you got to know who's doing the studies. You got to know what their motives are. If you're a scientist and you're doing studies, someone's paying you to do them, and the money talks. The money talks. After this, let's show you the British Journal of Medicine, where they just straight up say studies aren't real. The lady got fired. Fake scientific studies. Crisis. So a positive correlation between retinol and fertile window was observed. After multivariable adjustment, we still found a negative correlation between serum, retinol, and bone mineral density, BMD, both at the lumbar spine. It is concluded that elevated serum retinol levels are associated with an increased risk of low bone mass and thus with osteoporotic fractures. Therefore, osteoporosis risk assessment should include quantification of serum metabolite of vitamin A. You want strong bones? Lower your vitamin A intake. Okay? You want strong bones? Lower that intake. We got that study of the post. Let's get this one. Let's get this one. Another study of osteoporosis and vitamin A, clinical review. If osteoporosis is linked with vitamin A consumption, millions of people could be affected. You think? They are being affected. Of 20 clinical studies, 3 were randomized controlled trials, 14 were observational, 3 were case. Most 8 observational studies were cross-sectional. Oral retinol palmitate in high doses induces fractures and radiographic osteoporosis in animals. Retinol intake from diet or supplements is negatively associated with lumbar, femoral neck, trach, bone mineral density, BMD. There's a graded increase in relative risk of hip fracture with increasing retinol intake, attributable primarily to retinol, either from diet or supplements, but not beta-carotene intake. Turns into the same thing. That's total bullshit. Higher serum retinol levels are associated with higher risk of any fracture. So here's how it works, guys. The older people get, the more vitamin A gets stored in their liver, the more likely that is aging. You want to help your elders, you want to help your senior citizens, you want to help your grandparents, check in on the vitamin A they're doing. That milk, that vitamin A in that milk is not good for your bones. Hey, Pamelita in Austin, Texas. That milk is not good for your bones. That spinach is not good for your bones. Those tomatoes are toxic nightshade, high in beta carotene, not good for your bones. You ever see that lady who's a farmer, and like all she eats is meat and carbs, and she's like 80 years old and she looks like she's 50? Where's that lady? She thinks she was in Canada. This is real, guys. This is not a joke. This is not a game. I like that you guys can see this, because we can talk a lot of junk on Twitter and on X, but when you see it in real life, when you hear us speak about it, when you see studies like this, excessive dietary intake of vitamin A reduces skull bone thickness in mice. Calvareal thinning and skull bone defects have been reported in infants with hypervitaminosis A. Yeah, they have. Intracranial pressure. Ever see the babies with the swollen skull? These findings have also been described in humans, mice, and zebrafish with loss of function mutations in the enzyme CYP26B1 that degrades retinoic acid, the active metabolite of vitamin A, indicating that these effects are indeed caused by too high levels of vitamin A and that the evolutionary conserved mechanisms are involved. To explore these mechanisms, we have fed young mice excessive doses of vitamin A for 1 week and then analyzed the skull bones using microcomputed tomography, histomorphometry, histology, and immunohistochemistry. In addition, we have examined the effects of retinoic acid on gene expression in osteoblasts in vitro. Compared to a standard diet, a high dietary intake of vitamin E resulted in a rapid and significant reduction in calvareal bone density and suture diastasis. The bone formation rate was almost halved. There was also increased staining of tartrate-resistant acid phosphatase in osteocytes and an increased pearl-acunar matrix area, indicating osteocytic osteoliths. Consistent with this, retinoic acid-induced genes associated with bone degradation in osteoblast in vitro. Moreover, and in contrast to other known bone, vitamin A induced osteoclastic bone resorption on the. So basically, it's messing with the mineralization of the bones. Result: vitamin A reduces calvareal thickness and bone formation. You want strong bones? Lower your vitamin A intake. Okay? You want a strong head? Lower your vitamin A intake. We're not making this stuff up. The biggest study was the one that said, hey, we got to reassess this whole thing. That was the biggest study. And that's the goal here. And that's what we're doing with 101s. We're starting an army. We need as many people as we can to mount up and share this with your friends and loved ones. Even if you still think vitamin A is a vitamin, that's whatever. I don't, I never will, it never will be. But at the very least, start accounting for it in people's health. Start telling people, hey, did you know? Go around and poll people. Did you know that you can get too much vitamin A? Most people will say they had no idea. Then you look it up and it literally says don't go above 3,000 IUs, and you see that one sweet potato is above 1 cup of sweet potatoes is way. How much vitamin A does one sweet potato have? 18,000 IUs. More than 10 times the RDA in one sweet potato. We got a lot of people saying to eat. I love how simple this diet is. Sure do. Hard to break through the Rockefeller dairy propaganda. People are fully indoctrinated. Can't blame them. I used to be too. What's up, Weldon? If you guys didn't see the podcast with Weldon, he's more than 5 years into a low vitamin A diet. 3 years into it, he reversed celiac. I'm not saying anyone cured anything. I'm telling you one man's story. I'm telling you a man's story and how he reversed celiac. He also raised his testosterone. He also reversed gray hair. What also happened with Gran Chinru? Gran Chinru also. So supplements don't fix vitamin A deficiency. Supplements cause toxicity. This vitamin A deficiency thing with the Bill Gates, when Bill Gates goes in, he is coming in with mega dose vitamin A. And vitamin A deficiency, what they're calling, it's not from a lack of vitamin A, it is malnutrition. Did you know that Big Pharma, hold on guys, I gotta let Kodiak the Shepherd in the house. So did you know that Big Pharma makes a lot of vitamin A? A lot of the supplements, they have vested interests. Okay? South Africa, last week on the live stream, we showed you they have a known vitamin A toxicity problem, and a lot of their people are now coming forward and saying, hey, we got to rethink this. We got to rethink this whole thing. This lady is like only one of few researchers questioning vitamin A, but she's questioning vitamin A, but the way it works with vaccines. The studies have mainly taken place at the Bandem Health Project in Guinea, West Africa, but a reanalysis of randomized trial. Yeah, guys, real quick, if you care about human rights, if you care about people in Africa, it's time to take a close look at what they're doing with vitamin A in these countries to these people. A lot of people don't realize, a lot of people say, oh, first of all, if you're defending a vitamin, what are you doing? This thing was discovered 100 years ago. Prior to the 1900s, the word vitamin wasn't even a thing, and they didn't have any autoimmune disease. I also need an incense. Can I have an incense? I need an incense. I'm getting bit. To protect against the consequence of vitamin A deficiency, the World Health Organization, there's no such thing as deficiency, these people are malnourished, recommends that high-dose vitamin A supplements be given together with routine. Thank you. Everybody say hi to my wife live on the stream. We found that 2 interventions were not independent. Vitamin A enhanced the antibody response 9 months of age significantly, especially in boys. The effects were sustained over time. The children, keep up with me, guys. The children who had received vitamin A were more protected against measles at 6 and 8 years of age. Though vitamin A supplementation had beneficial effect on the immune response, it intrigued me that the effect of vitamin A supplementation on overall mortality was not always beneficial. While vitamin A was beneficial when given after 6 months of age, and 2 studies had shown a beneficial effect when given at birth, all studies testing the effect between 1 to 5 months of age had found no effect. These time windows are dominated by 3 different 1 to 5 months of age to have strong effects on mortality from infectious diseases in general, so-called non-specific effects. The inactivated DTaP V word worryingly has been associated with increased mortality from other infectious diseases. Both positive and negative effects are strongest for girls. I propose the hypothesis that vitamin A amplifies not only this specific from other infectious diseases. According to my hypothesis, vitamin A would enhance the non-specific beneficial effects on mortality of BCG, also the negative effects of DTaP. Hence, the hypothesis offered an explanation for the mortality age pattern after, kids were dying. It wasn't making a difference on death. Since it was formulated, I've aimed to test this hypothesis. Since it is associated with ethical problems to randomize children above 6 months of age to vitamin A supplementation, and to randomize children in general, we have had to be pragmatic when designing the trials. Hence, our studies have taken many different forms. We conducted an observational study during a vitamin A campaign in which MIS also provided, and a randomized trial testing the effect of 2 different doses of vitamin A during another campaign. We tested the effect of providing vitamin A with BCG at birth in 2 randomized trials, and we reanalyzed data from one of the original randomized trials. In all studies, the main outcome was mortality. In all studies, the main outcome was mortality. The results document that vitamin A supplements do more than protect against vitamin A deficiency. They support the hypothesis that vitamin A supplements interact with important consequences for mortality. First, a smaller dose of vitamin A was more beneficial than a larger dose for girls. Second, the effect of vitamin A given was significantly different from the effect of vitamin A given with children who receive vitamin A with higher mortality. The effect of vitamin A given was significantly different from the effect of vitamin A given with measles, and children who receive vitamin A with higher mortality than children who had received vitamin A alone or who did not receive anything. Third, vitamin A given with BCG at birth interacted negatively with subsequent girls. Fourth, the effect of vitamin A to older children in Ghana depended on being beneficial in boys but harmful in girls who receive follow-up. The results also show that boys and girls respond differently to vitamin A. The work presented in this thesis confronts this assumption. The results show that vitamin A is seen not only as specific interventions with specific and independent effects, but as immunomodulators which can interact with important consequences for overall mortality. This is something to think of. Moms who are going to give birth, moms with children, this is something to think of. We had a friend of mine, two-year-old baby had about 8 ear infections, and they were looking into, they were going to have to do the surgery. And he called me up and I said, stop feeding the baby milk. And he said, how'd you know? I said, how'd you know? We give the baby a bottle of milk every night before bed. Called me back 2 weeks later, almost crying, saying, hey, we eliminated the milk and the baby hasn't had 1 ear infection since. We avoided surgery. You are not supposed to suck from a cow's nipple. Yeah, get a thermos, get ground beef, food for the day. A lot of great travel hack. You go to your supermarket, you get a 32-ounce thermos. I got 2 of them. I go onto the plane with 2 32-ounce thermoses filled with meat, beans, and rice. I open that thing on board of the plane, and that steamy goodness comes out, and all the other passengers look at me and say, how'd you get that fresh, steamy meal on here? Just don't make it too liquidy because TSA will try to say it's a liquid. Life hack, put the liquid at the bottom, put the meat, rice, and beans on top. TSA says, what's that? I say, just beef and bison, man. And then the TSA salutes. I say, be on your way, Thor. One of ones. We see what you're doing out there. We see what you're doing. Let's read another testimonial, shall we? Let's check some testimonials. We had a guy who's a member of One of Ones, no longer is snoring. That's amazing. What's this? Thor Torrens IG, the best IG page in the world. Oh, does it let me pause? It does let me pause. Great. Pause. 1 month into low vitamin A diet, regularity in shitting, lethargy in the mornings is gone. He can skip his yerba mate ritual. Some of these health gurus are doing 6-7 yerba mates a day. BO is gone. Remove the garlic and onions using topical magnesium. Body mass is improving around face and entire body. Hair noticeably thicker. We already showed in the beginning of the stream how vitamin A makes your hair thin. Skin feels tighter. Body reacting negatively, things it didn't before, mainly food and drinks, less cravings. Still early, but very happy with the results so far. And then he says, any recommendations for moisturizer? So check it out, guys. I look at moisturizer the same way we look at shampoo. For anyone who's into the no shampoo challenge, you can also be into the no moisturizer challenge, because what happens when you shampoo your hair, you dry it out, then the body has to create more oils, and you go through this whole process of putting fake stuff on your hair. Same thing with moisturizer. I don't need moisturizer because I'm not toxic and I'm not deficient and I'm doing really well, right? So you don't have to be obsessed with moisturizer, because If you get into the pattern, it's just like shampooing your hair. If you are training your body to constantly be moisturized, then your body's going to be producing oils differently, right? There's no moisturizers in nature. The oil is not a natural thing. We work with a lot of people losing weight. We had a member, let's see if we can go straight to that review right now. Hey, Thor, just wanted to give an update on everything. Officially down 30 pounds. Officially down 30 pounds the last 2 months since I started this diet and all the workouts we talked about. Still got 70 pounds. What is going on here? Still got 70 pounds to hit my 220 mark, but slowly we're getting there. Appreciate everything, man. Yeah. Listen, one of the things we do to lose weight is we stop these added fats and added oils. Nowhere in nature were you using coconut oil. Nowhere in nature were you using these oils. You want to do a little butter from time to time on a low vitamin A diet? Fine, that's cool. No one's stopping you doing from a little butter. What do we use for steaks again? Grill them. Grill your steaks. Use a little butter if you want. Use a little refined avocado oil if you want. If you're not obese and you're not trying to lose weight, that's not as much, you can add a little more fat. If you're trying to gain some weight, you can add a little more fat. If you're trying to lose weight, you want a low-fat diet. You want to just get your fats from animals like we were supposed to. I'm not on a no-fat diet, but I eat bison. Bison is like 90-10. Today I went and got grass-fed beef. It's 93-7. Weird, but it's delicious. And I still have that 7% fat. I'm still getting I don't need omega-3s. All that stuff. Be aware that marketing, the double-edged sword of capitalism, is everyone is trying to sell you something. Think to yourself, did my ancestors go to the grocery store and have 1,000 things to pick from? They had like 3, 4, 5 basic things. Here's another one. A few weeks of trying the low vitamin diet, almost down 5 to 6 pounds. 50 years old, almost to 175. This is the way, brother. Keep it going. Look at this one. Want to hear something crazy? Girlfriend and I tried to get pregnant for a year straight, trying every day, nothing. Went low vitamin A for 2 weeks, kept trying, pregnancy test today, pregnant, WTF. Yeah, this is real, man. This is real. All it takes to see how you feel after a month or two on low vitamin diet, and you will see how much better the body functions. Thor, you are the GOAT for real. No, you are the GOAT. You are the GOAT. Because you are the healer. Your body is the magic. Look at me. 33 years old, skinny fat. I think I was trying vegan then. No, I tried vegan in 2017. 2017 was the year I did vegan. Now I'm 39 years old, been on a low vitamin A diet all this year. I'm in the best shape of my entire life. I wouldn't even be doing this live stream. Look at this, another one. Not sure on the accuracy of those high-tech scales at gyms, but I actively use them a couple of times per month to measure body fat, visceral muscle, weight loss. The visceral number increases or decreased in 0.5s on the scale I've been using. Since being on a low vitamin A diet, my visceral fat has come down by 1.5. That is 3 increments. Overall body fat down 1.8% in the last month. This paired with good nutrition as always, but now with more focus on zone 2 cardio, more and less high intensity, right? Because pretty sick results considering I'm already in fairly decent shape. So this is something we do, guys. What we do, we come from all angles, and I'll go back to the testimonies in a sec, but I just want to touch on this. If you're trying to lose weight, it's not just calories in and calories out. It's not just exercise. Okay, these vague statements really piss me off. It's not about the quantity. It's also about the quality and the ingredients in the food you're eating. So you can do less calories. If you're still eating vitamin A, high vitamin A diet, your body is still going to want to store those toxins inside fat. Once your liver gets overworked, your body also stores it in fat. This is why a lot of skinny people have more symptoms, because they don't have the fat to store the toxins in. Then another thing we do is we don't just tell people, hey man, do cardio, good luck. It's a certain kind of cardio we do. You got to be at a certain heart rate. I got guys who have low T, and I work with them one-on-one, and we do a lot of things with one-on-one coaching. By the way, guys, one-on-one coaching, it's $820 for the year. You get a lifetime membership to One-on-One's VIP, which is coming. That's going to be 2 calls a week, 24/7 text access. We teach you how to read your blood results, how to read a hair mineral test. Then we get a custom plan in the works for you. And if you don't get results, then we do a 30-day, 60-day, 90-day. Every 30 days, we get on another call. And if you are not better, it's a money-back guarantee. At that point, I work for you. And if I don't help you, I don't deserve to get paid. This is not what modern medicine and our expert doctors are doing. Our expert doctors are salespeople for Big Pharma. They just scribble their sloppy ass handwriting on a prescription pad, and they see you for 15 minutes. We guide you through the whole process. This is the way it should be. This is going to be the future of health and health coaching and being your own doctor. Then you can help your friends and family members as well. We cannot call these doctors experts anymore because they haven't cured one autoimmune disease. Not only have they not cured one autoimmune disease, every single disease is rising exponentially out of control. How can you call someone an expert who is failing? Modern medicine, medical malpractice is the 3rd leading cause of death in the country. If these people were engineers, people would be dying and they would get fired. Then the leading cause of death is the heart disease, and we know what retinoic acid and vitamin A does when it goes to the epithelial tissue. When retinoic acid goes to the epithelial tissue, we know what it does. And it's not a good thing. It is not a good thing. And let me just share with you what happens when that happens. Because when that toxic bile starts to unleash, when that starts to go into all your blood vessels, when your blood vessels start to get calcified, just like it messes with your bone loss, it can mess with your hearts. And everyone wants to villainize soluble fiber and villainize beans. You know, if you've been consuming liver and not feeling good, 4 ounces of beef liver is 600% of your recommended daily value. 4 ounces and you are 600% over. And that's not even including the copper. And a lot of people getting tested are copper toxic too. No one should be eating liver. If you are making liver a habit, you are either suffering from hypervitaminosis A or you're on your way to, and your liver is just taking the bullets quietly. It's like when you start drinking alcohol in your 20s, you don't feel anything. You don't have hangovers. Your liver doesn't feel good. And 10, 20 years later, you make it happen. What do you think happens if vitamin A is retinol and alcohol if you make that a habit? Right? So we're getting people from the carnivore diet who got bored just eating muscle meat, started doing liver, eggs, and milk, and they're getting messed up now. And the carnivore diet's great because you hit a pause button, you stop the intake of toxins, but then you do nothing to eliminate them. They're almost against soluble fiber. And a lot of people don't want to eat just steak for the rest of their life, so they start going to eggs, they start going to dairy, they start going to liver because they want a variety, and then they end up worse than they were found. Vitamin A slowly poisons the entire body. The most common symptoms, GI issues, colitis, ulcers, celiac. Why does that happen? the toxic bile filled with retinoic acid now goes into your intestinal lining and wreaks havoc. How can you call a plant-based diet alkaline if it's turning into retinoic acid? Please, someone make that make sense. Cognitive issues. Anxiety is a huge one. Pretty much everyone who goes into the principles in one-of-ones gets rid of anxiety. A lot of us stop caffeine. That helps. But the wave of anxiety disappears on a low vitamin A diet is like, it's almost a bad thing how not anxious I am. Why is it a bad thing? Because like sometimes you need a little bit of like, but it's the total opposite. It's really a good thing. Depression, skin issues, eczema, psoriasis. And if you have vitamin A toxicity for decades, the symptoms you've had for the longest will probably take the longest to go away. You know, Dr. Garrett Smith says that a lot. And if you want to watch Dr. Garrett Smith's live streams, you definitely should. And you definitely should read Grant Giroux's book, Poisoning for Profits. And I'll show that to you guys right now so you can just see that. His blog. This is, you're going beyond the pale. You're going beyond the pale when you do something like this because the status quo is comfortable. It's boring. It's familiar. And they say, hey, vitamin A is a vitamin. This guy's got 9 years. 9 years of blog entries. 9 years of blog entries. He's got a whole forum here with people chiming in. He's got 3 different ebooks. This one he wrote while he was still a bit sick. Poisoning for Profits he wrote when he got better. And then he's got one tying it all to breast cancer. And look at these archives. All the way from a month ago, 2024, to all the way back to 2014. He's 10 years in. 10 years in. And this guy is a pioneer that should be, share this book with as many people as you can. This guy is probably the biggest lie we've ever been told is the thing they're calling a vitamin. The biggest thing we've ever been told. The biggest lie we've ever been told. And you see the testimony. We're not in the replies in the comments anymore just arguing with idiots. We are not just arguing with idiots in the replies anymore. Vitamin D3 is depleting potassium and it's causing cholestasis. Most of the store-bought waters are bullshit. Distilled water is pure water. It's funny how they called it distilled water. They could have just called it pure water. If you buy a gallon of distilled water at the store, and you look at the ingredients, it's going to say purified, pure water. And the most famous article is by Mercola. He says that distilled water causes an early death. They put that on Mercola's website. Now imagine if that article said early death comes from drinking pure water. Do you see how stupid these marketers are? Do you see how all this shit is an IQ test? Rain is distilled water. Where do you think spring water originates from? Spring water, lake water, stream water, that's old water. That's dirty water. The only type of water Mother Nature makes is distilled water. Rain, mist, snow, dew, fog, fruits, vegetables, all live fruit and vegetable juices. Why we love coconut water. All the water inside your body is distilled water. The only reason we are alive is because our liver and kidneys are constantly distilling our body's water. Why make it more difficult on your system? All the principles of what we do are just making it easy on your body. Why make your body work? Oh, you want to go to ketosis? Oh, because your body will convert that into carbs for you. Why make your body work? Why make it more difficult on the system? What do they use in IV treatment? Distilled water. The hydrologic cycle is a distilling process. So where do you want to choose your water from on that cycle? From the newest point or the oldest point? When it comes to groundwater, spring water, mineral water, we are talking about that water running through stones. Stones are dead. That's what's the result, dead. People say distilled water is dead water. Then what the frack is stone water? Distilled water is dead. What's the water with rocks in it? Are rocks alive? You can make an argument. They're not alive, though. Would you sit down and eat a bowl of dirt and rocks? Of course you would. Are you going to those streams and those springs? Poland Spring, are you going to that spring and collecting all the rocks and selling that as a supplement? They would look at you like you were crazy, but you'll drink it. Mountain Valley spring water, the health nuts love the green glass bottle. It's high in calcium. Technically, that's hard water. They need to change the name to dirt water. If the minerals in mineral water are so good for you, why not just go on a trail and start licking the ground? That's what you're doing. Distilled water is the only real water. Hydrogen plus oxygen. The more objects in water, besides hydrogen and oxygen, the less it becomes water. The stiller it becomes. You add enough objects and it becomes mud. And there's people out there selling mud water. But this is why distilled water is the most delicious water on the planet. Why it's so easy to drink. Why it goes down so effortlessly. Other waters don't go down that smooth. There's invisible rocks and sand in it. What machine runs better with objects stuck between its parts? What do you put inside of a car? What would happen if you put rocks inside of your car? You know the U.S. Navy drinks distilled water? There's a free runner named Tim Sheaf. He drinks only distilled water. There's a passage in the Bible, John 4:13. And Jesus is at the well, and the woman's climbing up the mountain with a bucket. And the woman goes, "You have nothing to draw with, and the well is deep. Where can you get this living water?" And then it says, "Are you greater than our father Jacob, who gave us the well and drank from it himself? Or did also his sons and his livestock?" And Jesus goes, "Everyone who drinks this well water will be thirsty again. But whoever drinks the water I give them will never be of thirst." And he says, "The water I give them will become them a spring of water welling up to eternal life." The lady says, "Sir, give me this water so that I won't get thirsty and have to keep coming here to draw from the well." Well, if you know anything about allegory, yeah, you can bring a 32-ounce thermos when taking a flight. You sure can. I bring 2 of them. I fill it with meat and rice and beans. Sometimes I put some peeled zucchini. It adds a nice sweetness to it. Sometimes I add some parsnips or turnips, some burdock root or some celery root, if you want to get fancy. But it's total nonsense, guys. Total nonsense. What they are doing to people. What they are tricking people into thinking. It's all BS. It's not fair. And who's going to have our back besides us? Who's going to have our back? Right? This is going to be one of the greatest comeback stories of all time. Straight up. Because you look, why are the top trigger foods for eczema all the highest in vitamin A? North America has chronic disease rates 400 times higher than a lot of other countries. We cannot call ourselves the best country in the world if we have disease rates 500 times higher than other countries. If your political candidate is not, if his number one priority is not the health of the people, then what are we doing? We got to stop with this conflict of interest where our doctors are sales reps for big pharma and our food industries are running our medical department. This is a total conflict of interest. Our cancer rates 50 to 200 times higher. Since the 1800s, our cancer rates have jumped 500 to 1,000 times higher. Not 500 to 1,000%. That's 50,000 to 100,000% higher that our cancer rates have gone since the 1800s. And over the last 100 years, the rates of autoimmune disease in North America, 500 times higher. This is a total anomaly. And guess when this rise started? In the 1970s, the early 1980s. 10 years after vitamin A palmitate mandate was fortified into our dairy. This is a clear indication that these diseases are not genetics. These diseases are not bacteria or viruses, because their rates are doubling faster than the human reproductive cycle. It's not due to aging. People are confusing aging with exposure time to toxic poisons, and one of those toxic poisons is vitamin A. Okay? Eczema is vitamin A poisoning. This is why you see it in the babies and the young kids with the small livers, and then all of a sudden they outgrow it because their livers grow and they're able to store more of it. Then they get into their 20s or their teens, they reach their saturation point, the eczema comes back, and then it never goes away because they can't figure it out. Why would the human body develop such a critical dependency on a toxic molecule that is also a known neurotoxin that in the beginning of this stream we showed literally causes osteoporosis? The science is not wrong. The men interpreting the science is wrong. And if you trust men with large amounts of money on the line, you have not been paying attention. If you trust scientists, all the PC people, white men, if you trust white men scientists in the early 1900s who were racing to win a Nobel Peace Prize and get patents, you haven't been paying attention to how money leads to corruption. You trust these industries, the dairy industry, the egg industry. You trust big dairy, where most of their research is funded by the Rockefellers. And I don't even think it's a conspiracy, because you see these Rockefellers and Rothschilds, you see them dying in their 80s. If they had the secrets, they'd be living to 120. So they're useful idiots too. They just make money off of their stupidity. You are not elite if you are dying at 80. You do not know the codes or the secrets if you're dying at 80. If you're dying at 100 and from 90 to 100, you are a shell that looks like a freaking demonic possessed weirdo. You're not elite. Check in with Montauk Chia. So there are over 50 documented symptoms of vitamin A toxicity. 50 documented symptoms of vitamin A toxicity. There also happens to be 50 named autoimmune diseases. Every symptom has a corresponding named autoimmune disease. And in the cornerstone research, the symptoms of vitamin A deficiency are a perfect match with vitamin A toxicity. So where is the logic in that? Where is the logic that the toxicity symptoms are the same as the deficiency symptoms? This is like saying you would die. Burning to death is the same as freezing to death. It makes zero sense. A lot of this cornerstone research doesn't even hold up against the most trivial amounts of critical thinking. You gotta, just like Shawshank Redemption, just how we see people that get exonerated. 30 years later, freed from prison, we found out this guy did not do it. It's 100 years later, and we are finding out that vitamin A is not a freaking vitamin. It's time to free this thing back to what it is, and alcohol, retinol, something that should be avoided as much as you can. Something that should definitely not be fortified into our dairy or our grain. Something that is in Prime Energy drink for some reason. Something that's in kids' gummy bears for some reason. Oh, by the way, you think you're being healthy doing the colorful candy from the health food store? They use beta carotene to color that. You're better off with the food dye. Up is down and down is up. These scientists from this early research, they didn't even ask the simple question of how humans could possibly exist this long if their vitamin A deficiency studies were true. They killed these rats and dogs in 8 to 10 weeks. One winter would have wiped out an entire species. 8 weeks is all it took? How did we survive millions of winters? How did wolves go longer than 10 weeks with really eating nothing? Rats can winter for 9 months in a barn on just grain. Ask any farmer. And those rats, in their anecdotal experiments, they'd have perfect vision, they remain in great health, they reproduce and bang just like rats, which means a lot, and they have great energy, and they defend their territory like rats. A grain farmer could have told you that the early studies in the 1900s where they made this discovery was total nonsense. The truth is this quote-unquote vitamin is way more of a toxin. That's the freaking truth. And the truth is that it's killed tens of millions of people, and right now 100 million people plus are walking around the USA and North America severely wounded by it. And all the different names given to chronic diseases hides the fact that majority of them are the same disease. Why are they all the same disease? Because all these diseases target one specific tissue category, and that is the epithelial tissue. All the autoimmune diseases target the same tissue category, epithelial tissue. Diabetes is a disease of the pancreatic epithelial tissue. Eczema is a disease of the skin, epithelial tissue of the epidermis. Heart disease and stroke, epithelial tissue of linings of the blood vessel. Multiple sclerosis is a disease of the epithelial tissue making up the myelin sheaths wrapping around the nerves. Irritable bowel, Crohn's, colitis, all the epithelial tissue of the digestive tract. Cataracts, disease of the epithelial tissue that makes up the lens of the eye. Xerophthalmia, chronic dry eyes. Remember the Ben Stein commercials? You guys old enough to remember these Ben Stein commercials? Every freaking commercial was dry eyes. Chronic dry eyes is a clear indicator of vitamin A toxicity, something that I had for years and I had no idea. I had dry mouth. It wasn't a dry mouth, but it wasn't like I was producing saliva like when I was younger. Like I had no spit. I always wondered what was going on. Well, now that's coming back. This is what aging in reverse really is. Biden is getting crushed. Yeah, bad. Listen, we still got 700 people in here, 663 people in here. I'll watch the highlights of the debate. Who does Thor think he is going up against the debate? You can watch the reruns of this tomorrow. But dry mouth, dry eyes, asthma. Asthma is a disease of the epithelial tissue of the lungs. You could go on for kidney diseases, liver disease. So what these diseases, and Granchen Roux talks about this so great in his book, Poisoning for Profits, what these diseases should be called is epithelial poisonings. And there's only one potential poison that could be capable of all this damage. And for some reason, they're calling it a vitamin, and it's vitamin A. So how do you reverse? How would I reverse these diseases? I would go on a low vitamin A diet, and I would start accounting for it. I would at least start accounting for this fat-soluble toxin that the science clearly indicates you can get too much of. At the very least, the irony here is that vitamin A doesn't protect from dry eyes or cataract or night blindness like the WHO or the experts or Bill Gates going into Africa with his vitamin A. It doesn't protect from any of those eye problems. It's actually what's causing it. There was a post on Twitter before it was X of a guy who every morning he went out sun gazing and he reversed his he improved his vision. Well, what do we know about the sun and vitamin D? It's an antagonist to vitamin A, and this is why people are getting sunburned, and this is why people on a low vitamin A diet. Weldon had terrible childhood asthma. Wasn't long after is when his celiac is. How many children with asthma? How many children with asthma have to suffer? Stop feeding them dairy. Stop feeding them eggs. Stop feeding them multivitamins. Remember those Flintstone chewables? How much vitamin A was in those Flintstone chewables? Let's see. Do they even still make those? I wonder how much was when we were little. Flintstones vitamins for kids with iron. Oh my God. Extra iron? Why would you put extra iron in a kid's vitamin? What are those, vegan kids, they must think? Guys, parents, you do not have to give your kids multivitamins at all. Free of sugar. Okay. Can we find out what's in it? Can we find out what the ingredient is? I can't even get an ingredient list. Vitamin A, first ingredient. It's alphabetical. Flintstones, chewables. Flintstones vitamins. This is fun that they still make these. How much vitamin A is in a Flintstone chewable? Can we find out? All these things going in gummies too is crazy. Vitamin A. Look, they put salmon. All you guys eating salmon thinking you're on a low vitamin A diet, you are not. You are not on a low vitamin A diet. Big glass of chocolate milk every night, big bowl of milk and cereal every morning. Yeah. We were doing cereal every morning. So the only difference between this epithelial poisoning is the named organ where the tissue destruction is taking place. It's the same exact condition, just a different organ. And it looks the same under a microscope. It's these cone-shaped blisters. Granchen Rude talks about that in his blog. You should see how much is in baby formula, the highest concentration of all the additives in there. The stuff that is in baby formula is an absolute sin. Baby formula ingredients is an absolute sin. An absolute sin what's in this baby formula. Corn syrup, vegetable oil are like the first two ingredients. Why are we feeding our babies corn syrup and vegetable oil? And I'm sorry, for the lower class communities, you got to educate yourself. You got to refuse. You got to drive the market. You can't be putting this. You got to look at the ingredients and then research them of what is in these products and realize that we are being poisoned. Who's talking about this stuff? Not enough people. Everyone wants to talk about civil rights and doing the right thing and this and that. Let's talk about what people are putting in their bodies and how that's affecting their behaviors and their moods. Some of the earliest vitamin A deficiency experiments are complete nonsense. In the early part of the 20th century, there was a race to discover vitamins. They already knew about protein. They knew about carbs and fats. Researchers were now set on finding these other special components that were needed for human health development. They said without these components, you could have a serious deficiency. Fear-mongering. How do they sell shit to you? They fear-monger. They said without these hidden components, you can get diseases. Guys, if you are still searching, if you get sick, if you have a symptom, and the first thing you do is go searching for what pill, what vitamin, what herb, or what food, you still don't get it. You got to change the conversation from what should I take to what should I eliminate? What did I do to make myself sick? It's not bad luck. It's not aging. You're being poisoned. What should you stop ingesting? So when they discovered these vitamins, they were heavily rewarded. Academic recognition, financial gain, Nobel Peace Prizes, patents. There was an incentivization there. There was high motivation to make these discoveries. The race was on. And the first one to be discovered, vitamin A. A is the first letter. And one of the first things they said, night blindness. You're going to go blind at night, which is not actually being blind at night. It's actually this condition of slowly adapting to the darkening light. And it's still the slower you're not blind because you wake up and your vision's back. It's adaptation. Photosensitivity is one of the top indicators of vitamin A toxicity. Majority of people right now cannot go outside without sunglasses on. Not only are you getting low on vitamin D because your retina is what's converting the vitamin D, and we got to do a whole live stream on vitamin D. They don't even test for the active form. Did you know that Pfizer heavily invested in vitamin D3 supplements before 2010, and that after 2010, new data came out that everyone was deficient, and that osteoporosis has only been on the rise since then, and they actually sell the top drug for osteoporosis? We got to wake up. All these things are an IQ test. All these things are an IQ test. It's simple, guys. It's very simple. How would these animals have evolved for hundreds of thousands of years with this divine design flaw of when they got deficient in vitamin A, they would die in 8 to 10 weeks? And then we see that there's dogs living on just muscle meat that are living till 18 years old. Just muscle meat is a low vitamin A diet. And I'm not telling you to eat just muscle meat. That's why we have molars. That's why we have amylase. We're omnivores. What we're doing, you don't have to get pigeonholed and cornered into eating one food the rest of your life. If your health guru is doing the right thing, you should be able to eat more food as you go along. You should be becoming more tolerant, more resilient, stronger. You shouldn't be going where, how many times do you see a carnivore person say, hey, I tried to eat that and it was bad news. I'll never eat that again. You're less tolerant than you were when you first started the elimination diet. So it's not making the repairs you thought it was. It's not making the repairs you thought it was. These early diets in these vitamin A studies, not only were they not natural, they were just dumb as fuck. Sugar water, yeast, pork lard, and milk casein. You give that diet to anyone and they're dying. You were better off giving nothing to them. You give sugar water to a dog for 8 weeks. Where was a dog drinking sugar water in nature? But guess what? They had to search for hidden deficiencies. You can't blame toxicity. There is no patent in blaming the culprit. There's no pharma drug for telling people what actually is killing them. Look into it. Elmer McCullum and Margaret Davis, they named it fat soluble A. Then in 1920, they changed the name to vitamin A. And here we are 100 years later proving them wrong. And we are not wrong. We are right. Then in the 40s and the 1960s, bigger studies were done using this same stupid diet. And those studies sealed the deal. Case closed. Nothing more to see here. These studies are still used today and cited today by the experts. They're completely ignoring the fact that animal and human history is full of prolonged periods of starvation. No deficiency, no lesions developing in the eye, no blindness. Look at the prisoners of war of World War II in Japan. They were fed a cup of rice a day for 3.5 years. You look up pictures of them, they're starving, they're skeletons. 3.5 years later, when they were liberated, the doctors examined them. They had no eye degeneration. No eye degeneration whatsoever. Do you think maybe the German scientists and doctors said, hey boss, these guys were on These guys didn't die in 8 weeks. These guys didn't go blind. Their skin and eyes actually improved in some ways. What were those Americans talking about? Vitamin A, you're supposed to go blind. Let's look into those studies. Then you look into the studies. Hey, boss, they actually fed these rats milk and pork. They actually fed these rats a diet high in vitamin A. Wait a minute. Let's go to the list and see what was caused. Impotence, infertility, bone fractures, failure to thrive, muscle weakness, hair thinning, dry eyes. Hey, boss, I think we have a way to poison the masses without them even knowing what happened. And guess what, boss? It's fat soluble, and you can just slowly overdose them over years, and they'll never know what hit them. Because if you are healthy, you are not of value to them. If you are dead, you're not of value to them. If you are just slowly sick for years, you are a cash cow. You're a cash cow if you're slowly sick for years. Let's check in on X. We got any notifications? We are live. We're about 800 viewers, so most of our viewers are on X and less on YouTube. We'll get there. We got nobody. So where do people post their questions? No one's responding to the actual post. Oh, well, I don't know. I think we're still doing good. By the way, these guys put me in a Ray Pete group chat. And I'm the only low vitamin A guy in a chat with a bunch of Ray Pete people. I'll becoming friends with them. I just saw that a Ray Pete guy died. Rest in peace to that man. Sorry to hear that for his family. I have no idea how he died or what he did. It's not a time for jokes or games. Rest in peace to that man. And the only reason I know that is because they put me in that chat. And I said one of my friends, should I quote tweet this? Nah, you're better than that, Thor. You want to see a good study? 2006, the acute and chronic toxicity of vitamin A. This is a good one. Check this one out. The acute and chronic toxic effects of vitamin A. The acute and chronic effects of vitamin A toxicity are well documented in the literature. Emerging evidence suggests that subtoxicity, what does that mean? You don't know it's happening, without clinical signs of toxicity may be a growing concern. Because intake from preformed sources of vitamin A often exceeds the recommended dietary allowances, especially in developed countries, that's us. Osteoporosis and hip fractures are associated with preformed vitamin A intakes that are only twice the current RDA. So if you're doing twice, you are headed to bone loss. It's really amazing of what a miracle machine the human body is, that people can be resilient for so long. Now you're starting to see why we are designed to live 120 years. Once you see all this research, you see why we are designed to live 120 years. Assessing vitamin A status in persons with subtoxicity or toxicity is complicated. Yeah, it is. It's a gray area. It's a convolution, because serum retinol concentrations are non-sensitive indicators in this range of liver vitamin A reserves. What they are telling you is the blood test is whatever. The only way they can know what's in your liver is with a biopsy, and that's dangerous. By the time your liver is showing it, you are far gone. They're telling you this thing creeps up on you. The metabolism in well-nourished persons of preformed vitamin A, provided by either liver or supplements, has been studied by several research groups. To control vitamin A deficiency, large therapeutic doses are administered in developing countries to women and children who often are undernourished. That's a tell. These people are not vitamin A deficient. They are undernourished. They're malnourished. They don't need a vitamin. They need food. They need steak. They need rice. They need beans. Nevertheless, little attention has been given to the short-term kinetics after absorption but before storage of a large dose of vitamin A, or to the short and long-term effects of such a dose given to lactating women on serum and breast milk concentrations of retinol, its metabolites. Moreover, appropriate dosing regimes have not been systemically evaluated to ascertain the quantitative improvement in vitamin A status of the women and children who receive these supplements. The known acute and chronic effects of vitamin A toxicity have been reported previously. However, further research is needed to ascertain the areas of the world in which subclinical toxicity. So the huge thing here, guys, is this first line. I mean, the second one too is, it's well documented, emerging evidence, subtoxicity often exceeds the recommended dietary allowance, especially in developed countries, that's North America, and osteoporosis and hip fractures. They're telling you what it is. You guys want to argue in the comments, it ain't hard to tell. I excel. Is there anything unique on copper toxicity in one of ones aside from mineral balancing? I don't know what you mean by that, Gabriel. Yeah, we antagonize copper with zinc. We are not telling people to do copper like most health guru idiots. There's a lady on Instagram, head full of gray hair, telling people to take copper for gray hair. How are you the expert on how not to get gray hair? Your head is covered in gray hair. Should we find that? Should we find that? Let's see all these idiots, honestly. Oh, when I type in copper, it's just women hair dye. Maybe we type in copper supplement. Copper supplements. Yeah. You want to know who's a PSYOP? I'll show you who's a PSYOP right now, y'all. You want to know who's a PSYOP? This is why they let this dude live. This is why they let this dude live. Mercola. How copper can be beneficial to you. It can give you insomnia and schizophrenia. Foods that are rich in copper: beef liver, dark chocolate, cashews, chickpeas, lentils, and avocado. Dark chocolate also has lead. Liver also is high in vitamin A. The nutrient of oysters without the taste. Most oysters have higher copper than zinc. High vitamin A and color. Don't ever do this. Green powder. High vitamin A in that. Are you getting enough copper from your diet? Yeah, right. Oh my God. God forbid you were taking this copper water. God forbid you were taking copper water. See, when we get into when you work one-on-one, when we get into a hair mineral test, I'm looking for this lady with the gray hair. Copper, gray hair. This shit is just hilarious. Damn. This shit is hilarious. Copper, gray hair. Gray hair is copper. Nope, I can't find her. Copper cup. No, that's not the one. Okay, so check this out. Copper cup Moscow Mule. toxicity. Don't nurse the Moscow Mule. It could be a health hazard. Popular cocktail Moscow Mule. Supposedly, God forbid, gets its flavor from the frosty copper muck. A study published in the Journal of Environmental Health found that copper leaches into the drink made of ginger beer, lime juice, and vodka. In a little under a half hour, copper levels rise higher than the safety standard set for drinking water. A drink or two is not toxic. Bullshit. Acute copper toxicity is very unlikely. How do you know? You would need to drink 30 Moscow Mules in a 24-hour period. I don't want to put any copper in my liver. And you're drinking ethanol. Ginger beer seems to be the main driver in the leaching effect. Author of the study and associate professor in chemistry at Carroll. To avoid a coppery mule, use a copper mug lined with stainless steel, or make sure to down the mule in less than 27 minutes. Psh. So basically, the citrus, the ginger, will leach. Concerns have been expressed about the copper mugs before. In 2017, Iowa said the copper mugs could not be used for Moscow Mules because the FDA's food code divided against food or drink with a pH less than 6, which are more acidic. The pH of Moscow Mule is 2.7. Jesus. Iowa banned it. Shout out to Iowa. Just like the government of Finland banned liver. Finland government liver warning. Where is that? I got to start bookmarking things more. Matter of fact, speaking of bookmarks, we got some good bookmarks. Show bookmarks. All bookmarks. So what? Most people are having zinc deficiency. What makes you deficient in zinc? Copper. Hair level zincs in psychosis, risk among adolescents. Lower zinc and higher copper levels in serum of people with schizophrenia. This is huge. What's happening to a lot of weed smokers? They're becoming schizo. Why are they becoming schizo? Because the weed raises the copper in the blood, as well as the vitamin A. In this study, we aim to determine the relationship between zinc and copper levels in hair and psychosis risk among drug naive. These findings suggest that lower zinc levels could be involved in psychosis. Checking on your zinc. Don't guess. You can overdo it on zinc too. Don't overdo it on zinc. How about this one? This is a good one. Time to assume that health research is fraudulent until proven otherwise. This was in the British Medical Journal. This person was fired. Of course they were. Health research is based on trust. Health professionals and journal editors reading the result of a clinical trial assume that the trial happened and that the results were honestly reported. But about 20% of the time, Ben Mall, professor of gynecology at Monsha Health, 20% of the time they would be wrong. As I've been concerned about research fraud for 40 years, I wasn't that surprised as many would be by this figure. But it led me to think that the time may have come to stop assuming that research actually happened and is honestly reported, and assume that the research is fraudulent until there's some evidence to support it having happened and been honestly reported. How many of these studies do these gurus post online and we have no idea if what the study was even done? Who funded it? How many studies are 10-day studies? You find out nothing about what happened to these people afterwards. The Cochrane calibration, which purveys trusted information, has now taken a step in that direction. As he described in a webinar last week, Ian Roberts, professor of epidemiology at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, began to have doubts about the honest reporting of trials after a colleague asked if he knew that his systematic review showing the mannitol halved death from head injury was based on trials that had never happened. He didn't, but he said about investigating the trials and confirmed that they didn't ever happened. They never happened. They all had a lead author who purported to come today, Junior, to come from an institution that didn't exist and who killed himself a few years later. The trials were all published in prestigious neurosurgery journals and had multiple co-authors. None of the co-authors had contributed patients to the trials. There's no patients. And some didn't know that they were co-authors until after the trials were published. When Roberts contacted one of the journals, the editor responded that I wouldn't trust the data. Then they go into more. Others have found similar results. Moll's best guess is that about 20% of trials are false. And very few of these papers are retracted. People say like, oh, PubMed's the powers that be, bro. No, PubMed is a library. PubMed is a library with everything and anything. You have to use discernment, logic, and competence, and you have to do your own detective work and investigative journalism. What are my thoughts on broccoli? Trash, high sulfur, vitamin A, hybrid from the mustard plant, high FODMAP. I'm very zinc sensitive. Molybdenum helps, but it's like emptying a 55-gallon barrel with thimble. Take it slow. Take it slow, brother. Where were we? Okay. We have long known that peer review is ineffective at detecting fraud, especially if the reviewers start, as most have until now, by assuming that the research is honestly reported. I remember being part of a panel in the 1990s investigating one of Britain's most outrageous cases of fraud, when the statistical reviewer of the study told us that he had found multiple problems with the study and only hoped that it was better done than it was reported. We asked if he had considered that the study might be fraudulent, and he told us that it hadn't. We have now reached a point where those doing systematic reviews must start by assuming that a study is fraudulent until they can have some evidence to the contrary. You got to assume that the study's a fraud until proven otherwise. Some supporting evidence comes from the trial having been registered and having ethics committee approval. Andrew Gray, do you trust the studies that are done by the same people that are selling the product that the study is done against? Do you think the positive studies on coffee and chocolate and on liver are done by the people that are selling this thing? Some of the biggest pro-dairy studies are funded by Big Dairy. Deep soy. Phytoestrogens. Soy are so high in phytoestrogens, and let's talk about this for a second. Deep soy, vitamin A. We know vitamin A makes your hair thin. We know vitamin A causes osteoporosis. We know vitamin A is causing low testosterone. You mix in a fortified mom and a fortified dad with vitamin A toxicity. You mix in deep soy and phytoestrogens. Could that be the reason a bunch of boys are being born that feel like girls? It's not a mystery as to what's going on. People are being poisoned. If you want to have strong children, why do you think these top masculine accounts are all pushing liver, raw milk, and eggs? Alternative medicine has the biggest counter intel in it. Alternative medicine has the biggest agents in them. These Anon accounts, Carnivore Aurelius posting the pictures of the traditional family, and then in the next breath telling you to overdose on vitamin A. So you can have some weak-ass little feminine boys. I don't know if he knows what he's doing, but it's the truth. And he ain't live streaming, showing his face, showing all the studies we are. I'll tell you that for damn sure. And I don't care how many followers As long as we change one life a day for the better, 2 lives a day, you help your friends and family. The government of Finland says don't take any liver, that it's bad for you. In America, we have this. This is what we have in North America. For all you guys in Europe, pay close attention. This is what we have in America. And look, last time I purchased this, May 2022, I fell victim to this. Read before buying. This is beef liver. Always sick, nausea, vomiting, vitamin A overload. Hair wasn't growing as fast. That's what we showed. Messed me up good, no warnings. Who knew? Disappointing results. Even at half dose, I felt awful. Please be cautious. If your stomach hurts taking these, stop immediately or you may end up in the hospital. This person was brought to the ER. We just showed you that vitamin A toxicity causes GI distress, liver damage. Why is this being sold without a disclaimer? Why is the owner not addressing all this? These are the worst 1-star reviews of any supplement, of any product on the entire planet. Why are they allowing this to be sold? Hypervitaminosis A, allergic reaction, no shit. This has gotten 500 1-star reviews, bad news. And don't forget, the people leaving good reviews are like in their honeymoon period. They just started taking them and they're not even, when I first started taking liver, I thought it was working. I thought it was good. I wasn't putting 2 and 2 together until it was too late. Horrible stomach issues. Lid won't open. Vitamin A toxicity. Run, don't walk. Stomach pain. Do not get this. Unfortunately, no. What happened? Terrible insomnia. That's the copper. Gut discomfort and inflammation. Thought I had food poisoning 3 times in 1 month. Very sick. Water retention and constipation. Don't buy it, makes you sick. Terrible skin reaction. Burns my stomach. No shit, retinoic acid will do that to you. Doesn't work. Hospitalized. Brought this product a year ago, took 1 dose on it and become extremely ill for roughly 2 days before I finally decided to go to the hospital because I was becoming delirious from not being able to keep down fluids, vomiting and diarrhea with a fever. It's not funny. No. After taking 2 of these, 1 a day for 2 days, I experienced what can only describe as the eye of mortar. Made me dizzy and anxious. Yo, Liver King, yo, Paul Saladino, you got to address this shit. Cap too tight. You got lucky, Kate. Kate, you dodged a bullet. Pregnancy, don't take. I'm 37 weeks pregnant with low iron. I figured this would help me. Jesus. My first night of taking, I got really bad rash on my belly. Fatigued all day, insomnia. I hope her baby came out all right. Please read 1-star reviews. Didn't work for me. Should be illegal. Miss Melody, should be illegal. The problem is people are going to this. People are going to buy liver supplements and they're already sick because they're looking for answers. They're self-medicating. These things need warning labels. It's the blind leading the blind. If you want to feel like you're dying, not even close to DV or weekly. Defective item, bottle would not open. You had a guardian angel. That bottle not opening was your guardian angel saving your life. Diane Shi. Nausea and fatigue. No real changes. Lid won't open. Francisco, you had a guardian angel. Leaves brown spots on my body. Huh. Liver spots? You got liver spots, put a little zinc oxide on those and go on a low vitamin A diet and people are reversing their liver spots. I feel like doom. No details on exact minerals. Be cautious. Check the details on their website. I got the worst allergic reaction. It made me very ill. Don't buy into the hype. Gives me indigestion. Terrible gas. This is vitamin A. This is copper. This is the detox organ known as liver. This is what it really does to people once you've had too much. Too much copper, not during pregnancy. I took this during one of my pregnancies, and my child was born with a birth defect. Come on, guys. Liver King Paul Saladino, you got to address this shit. You guys are making your millions of dollars selling your cheap-ass liver powder at 50x the profits. Why can't you address the people in the one-star reviews? If I ever sell supplements, you better believe I'm not selling liver. I'm selling some safe stuff, and even 20% of you, it might not work for you, and that's okay. And then, you know what? You should know that it might not work for you. You can't sell liver and pretend like this isn't happening. Stomach discomfort, heartburn. That retinoic acid is going the wrong way. That toxic bile is going the wrong way, not into the toilet. It's going up the esophagus and into the throat area. If you have heartburn, it's a clear indicator you have toxicity. It's time to become a 101. Badly upset stomach. This is just going on forever. Sick, diarrhea and rash, horrible stomach pain. Beware of vitamin A toxicity. Come on, guys. Come on, guys. What are we doing? People are doing too much. America has a supplement problem. Your medicine cabinet is filled. One of the benefits of one-on-ones is you take maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 supplements, if that. 2 or 3, 4 or 5 more supplements, if that. The lights are going out. Hold on, y'all. There we go. Let there be light. Let there be light. All right, let's go to Twitter. Let's close off with some Twitter. We did testimonies. We spoke about what's getting better for me. I'm 6 months into a low vitamin A diet. You guys will be on this journey with me. I'm going to be live streaming every Thursday, probably around 8 o'clock at night, sometime every Thursday. My next blood test will be in August. My goal is to get my serum level below 5, which is considered severely deficient. And we're just going to be, we are the experiment. We are the source. Dr. Garrett Smith has 2,000 to 3,000 people, I think, most of which are on a low vitamin A diet. Cranchin Rue has hundreds in his forum. We've got 675. Join the army. One of ones is an army being formed where we are going to prove in live time that this thing is not a vitamin and that this thing is killing millions of people. It's that simple. We're not arguing in the replies anymore. We're not letting our friends and family members die anymore. This is the number one priority in the world, in the country. This should be priority number one with every single political candidate, is the health of our people. People are sick. It is affecting their mental health. It is affecting their energy levels. It is affecting their anger and emotion. People are fighting each other randomly in the streets. This is not how we were designed to be. If you have a toxic liver, you have a toxic life. They know this. If you don't have a toxic liver, you will be at peace. You will be at happy. You will spread love. I agree with you, but if only friends and family listened, it's time to wait. You got to make these things cool. We got to make these conversations cool and deliver them in the right way. Would you suck from a cow's nipple? Would you go up to the egg and eat the waste product from its asshole from the hen? Would you ever eat all these colorful plants 365 days a year? You would not. This stuff is all logical common sense. And when we deliver it to people, and then you show people, oh, you have eczema? Look at vitamin A toxicity in eczema. Oh, you have psoriasis? That's one of the side effects of vitamin A. Oh, you have GI issues, colitis, celiac? Look at Weldon, who was on the podcast, who 3 years low vitamin A reversed celiac disease. You can show real life examples. That's why we're live streaming every week and showing all these studies. And you guys can do the same thing. Create your own YouTube channel, create your own health coaching community. You want to be a health coach and you want to be you could be a doctor, but you're going to get indoctrinated. If you're a mainstream doctor and you're talking this talk, you're going to get X'd. You're going to lose your license. I don't know if you guys saw me on Dr. Sean Baker's podcast. Thank you to Dr. Sean Baker and the carnivore community for having me on. But he's a doctor. He said, I think vitamin A is a vitamin. You haven't done the research then, respectfully. How can a vitamin be used as a chemotherapy drug? How does that work? Why is vitamin A a chemotherapy drug? Because it kills stem cells. Why is the hair growing back in my nose, the hair growing back on my legs and feet? Because I'm no longer ingesting a thing that destroys stem cells. You can't consider these things a treat if you know what they do to the body on a molecular level. I can't consider ice cream a treat when I know vitamin A and retinol and I know it's going to damage my liver. Non-alcoholic fatty disease. Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Let's take a look real quick. What color is vitamin A, guys? Yellow? What color is vitamin A? Yellow? What color is an unhealthy liver? Yellow? 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 Okay. Liposuction fat. Where does it get stored to next? Look at all that vitamin A in the fat. Toxins get stored in fat. Look at that orange juice, vitamin A in that fat. Wait a minute. Look at that orange juice, vitamin A in that fat. All vitamin A turns into some forms of retinoic acid. Okay? Isotretinoin. Dry skin, chapped lips, dry mouth, joint pain, skin infection, nosebleeds, irritated eye, headaches. How many people have these problems? How many people have dry skin, chapped? Maybe your ashy skin is vitamin A toxicity. Do you know that when I first stumbled upon vitamin A toxicity, I went and checked my dog food, and my dog had fortified vitamin A palmitate in the kibble, and that they also had sweet potatoes, carrots, and I think spinach and high vitamin A foods in the dog food. And that when I stopped feeding my dog that food and just switched him to meat, he spent about 4 days in the backyard throwing up yellow bile and diarrhea. Guess what else happened? My dog no longer had dander, and my son was no longer allergic to my dog. So the vitamin A was causing my dog to have dander, and vitamin A toxicity is probably causing you to have dandruff. And maybe pet allergies aren't really what they thought they were. Maybe allergies in general aren't what they thought. All right, we're 2 hours and 11 minutes in. We're going to end it. It's past our bedtime. I want to see what happened. Who won the debate? Who won the debate, y'all? My sister was receptive to it as a chemistry major, but won't talk to me after revealing the deception about germ theory. Yeah, so guys, be careful with this germ theory thing. Trump's still kicking his butt. Trump's winning. So be careful with the germ theory thing, guys, because the whole point here is to wake up people to like helping people. I got people in my replies when I post a study on COVID and vitamin A, and their reply is, there's no such thing as COVID. You're going to lose 95% of the audience right with that line. I don't care what it was. People got sick. People got something. So I'm with you with the germ theory and the virus theory, but what is bacteria? What is bacteria? Are there pathogens? Are there like, if there's bacteria, is there like, just be careful with that, because you lost your sister because she's like, yo, this guy, like, my whole thing is getting, like, influencing people, persuasion, like the way we word these things in a way where you can't really debate or argue with us. The original carrot was not orange. The original hen, the jungle fowl in nature, was only laying 10 to 15 eggs a year. The liver is only about 2 to 8 pounds of 800 pounds of meat. You were never consuming liver every day, ever. The colorful plants, the Eat the Rainbow diet, that Sesame Street, brought to you by Sesame Street, a psyop. They brought it to the kids first, because if you mold the kids, then they grow up and they think you're real. You were never eating seasonal, colorful plants 365 days a year. You're not supposed to be able to walk into a grocery store and get a colorful plant from all over the world. See how we word these? There's not one person, when you word it like this, that they're like, oh man, that makes sense. That they all say that. 99.9% of people, when you word the conversations like this, they're going to say that makes sense. Your grandfather was not taking Tongkat Ali. Your grandfather was not taking Tribulus testaris. And he had way higher testosterone than all of us. It was what he was not doing. It was the few foods he was eating and focusing on. It was all the poisons he was. This is a totally different environment. So guys, one of ones, thortorrens.com. Join the army, level up, learn true health, nutrition, fitness, learn how to really do aerobic exercise, learn how to lift weights without raising cortisol, without overtraining. So many guys overtraining, lowering. You know what? We got 989 viewers. I got to wait till 1,000, right? I got to wait till 1,000 to close it out. 990. I got to wait till 1,000 to close this out. I can't just leave like that. It's funny. We have 980 on X. So what does that mean? We have 10 on YouTube? We'll get there, YouTube. And then Kick and Rumble, we got to figure you out. Dis-ease, in my experience, and scientifically makes most sense, being transfer in proximity to lose energy, people with weak. Dis-ease, you split the word in two. Dis and ease, it's a body not at ease. Why is the body not at ease? Because the liver is creating bile, and that bile is filled with toxins. And instead of those toxins going into soluble fiber into the toilet, they are getting circulated through your blood. This is called cholestasis. This means you have shit in your blood. You are shitty. You're backed up. You're full of shit. How many people are full of shit walking around? I was one of them. How many people are just getting by, failing to thrive? I was definitely one of them. You start to clean up your liver, you start to have more energy, you could start being a better producer, a better contributor to society. You can start being a better neighbor. How many angry neighbors don't want to talk to their neighbors, don't want to look people in the eye? Miserable people. A lot of people. I've been around some of the most wealthy and powerful people in the world. Even a lot of those people are toxic and not happy. We're 2 people away from 1,000. There it is. 1,000 viewers. 1 like on Facebook, 10 on YouTube, and we got about 900 and something on X. I don't know. Last night I went to Miami, South Beach. I saw some top influencers from X, some $1 million accounts. And they said they don't know about X. I said, I think X is doing good. All right, the lights are out. Nobody's home. Leave a message after the tone. It's thortorrens.com. We got 1-of-1 health coaching. We got a pro boxer. Shout out to Frankie Davey. Frankie Davey is a pro boxer in 1-of-1s. He just won his 12th match. He's undefeated. He's experimenting with the low vitamin A. And I'm in his corner too. And we got a NFL tight end, New Orleans Saints. We got a tight end on 1-of-1s. And I've been working with him, doing a lot of cool stuff with him. And you're going to start to see this thing scale. And we do a lot more than low vitamin A. There's a lot more going on here. It's not just a one-man show. We got a lot of cool stuff going on. So if you want to be part of a community, a tribe, holding each other accountable, a support system, a search function, we got a community section, a classroom section, a calendar section. We got more courses coming. Next month in July, I'm going to do a 1-on-1's VIP section. And that'll be for the people doing one-on-one work, where we'll have a more intimate 2 times a week, a more 24/7 text access. And we'll really start learning how to read these blood tests, how to read these hair mineral tests, how to dial it in and get specific, and how to customize it. Because this isn't just eat this for the rest of your life. This is, hey, there's multiple ways to do this. There's a foundation of principles, and you follow those, and you can do this many different ways. And that's why, and by the way, I am looking for more people who have been on a low vitamin A diet for 6 months or longer to come on the 1-of-1's podcast. And by the way, check this out real quick before we finish. Spotify. We are on Spotify. Thor Torrens, 1-of-1s. That is not, here we go. Yeah, check it out, y'all. Check it out, y'all. So go to Spotify, 1-of-1's podcast, Dr. David Stavins. This was a very controversial episode. Karen heard, everyone loved this one. And we got all the Kelsey Kenny. Check out her Etsy store. She's got amazing niacin products. Dr. Leah Miller cured debilitating anxiety on a low vitamin A diet, was also able to give birth to beautiful, healthy children for the first time on a low vitamin A diet. Will of Europa lost a bunch of weight on a low vitamin A diet. Nathaniel, he's gone off the deep end. He's now overdosing on iodine. Nathaniel, we're praying for you. Stop destroying your thyroid. Weldon is a hero. Got his testosterone all the way up to 900 from 157. Also reverse celiac. Chris beat his Lyme disease. Went from being debilitating anxiety, not even wanting to go out into public, to now he's on podcasts. Mike Roberto, he knows a bunch about the supplement game. And Dr. Steven was our first Godecki. He's a chiropractor in Michigan. And these guys are all on Twitter too. So yeah, let's 2 hours and 21 minutes, over 1,000 viewers. So let's wrap it up. No, you can do sodium. Sodium is key. Bugs hate salt. It's what type of sodium are you doing? Because if you're doing this sodium, I'm telling you right now, if you're doing this sodium, you're going to turn into a transvestite. No, I'm just joking. You're getting too much iron. Pink salt, that's iron, that's rust. Dr. Garrett Smith taught us that. And if there's 80 minerals in your salt, there's way too many. What kind of salt do you want? Just white salt. Good old white salt. Just plain old salt. Refined, pure salt. Keep it simple, y'all. It's not about what you're doing. It's about what you're not doing. It's not about going to this next vitamin, this next peptide. Peptides are cool, but what if we found out why you got so depleted and deficient and banged up? Because that peptide's going to fix you up a little bit, but then if you go back right to the same lifestyle and habit that got you all banged up, what are you going to do then? Yeah, sodium potassium balance is key. Vitamin A blocks potassium channels, guys. Caffeine, coffee, depletes you of potassium. If you're all crampy, that's a sign of complete potassium deficiency if you're crampy. All right, guys, so like, comment, subscribe, leave a comment for the algorithm warfare, and we will see you next Thursday, probably around 8 p.m. And I'm going to try to do some videos between then. And guys, final note, like the posts, repost the posts, comment on the posts, even if you don't like them, because something's going on with the algorithm right now. But I think we got some solutions coming up. I think we got to do more videos. We got to do more articles. And yeah, you got to ask questions. Always ask questions. It's interesting that the clickbait engagement farming question is like the most popular way to get the algorithm going. And asking questions in life can be very valuable and beneficial as well. But some of you guys are just asking the most basic questions that are just annoying. At least ask some deep questions. All right, y'all. See you next Thursday. Peace out. Thor Torrens over and out. Let's level up.